And the United States and the Afghan Taliban may be close to a deal. It could mean freedom for an American soldier taken hostage 4 years ago. Army Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl could be released in exchange for 5 members of the Taliban. They are prisoners at Guantanamo Bay. Our senior correspondent, John Miller, is a former FBI assistant director. John, good morning.
Good morning.
You think this deal will happen?
Well, it's the second time this is on the table, and it's the first time you're having a serious talk. Although, you know, the question you frame is the last time this deal was on the table, it was Hamid Karzai and the Afghan government that stopped in and said, wait a minute, there's going to be no deal between the Taliban and the U.S. government. This is about Afghanistan, and we need to be a part of that. And it went off the rails. So it's important to try and get this subject up again. What
do we know about the 5 Taliban detainees that are on the table here?
They're important to the Taliban. You've got high-ranking people, you've got key military people, and on one hand, getting them back gets them out of Guantanamo, which is one problem, and is an important leaf to the Taliban. On the other hand, these are not the kind of people you would want to return to the battlefield because the Taliban posture on this is we're ready to talk. And by the way, while we're talking, I think we'll just keep fighting, as we see from the rocket attack the other day at Bagram Air Base.
Sergeant Bergdahl's family in Iowa has been holding out hope for him for a long time. Why do you think that the U.S. hasn't used like Navy SEALs to do a military raid? And the reason I ask that, because do you really want to get in the precedent-setting thing of exchanging these 5 Taliban guys for an American prisoner of war? Doesn't that encourage behavior to capture American soldiers?
You don't want to get in that precedent unless you're the person being held or their family. And then, of course, it's all different. But as we get very close, closer and closer to the drawdown date where we're out of there and there's a negotiating posture that's very different. At some point, you have to have those talks about who do we have that we're trying to get rid of? Who do you have that you're trying to get rid of? How can we make this work for both of us? I talked to Bowe Bergdahl's dad. I've been out to Idaho. I met with him in Janney. They're wonderful people, but this is what they do now. They focus on trying to get their son back. He gave me a quote yesterday in a late-night email, basically summing up the family's feeling on this, which is, it's very easy to get into and very difficult to get out of a war, especially in South Asia. But diplomacy, it's long overdue in the region. Basically, what you're seeing there is a father saying, it's time to have this conversation.
All right.
John Miller, thanks, John.